Next up, Charlie Eisenreich, principal of Tech High School, and students will present information and highlights of Tech High School. Information is attached. Mr. Eisenreich.
All right, good evening. Mr. Chair, Superintendent Jett, members of the board, fellow district leaders, thank you so much for having me here tonight, along with a couple of tech students that will be up here shortly. We're going to talk about Tech High School and talk about some of the highlights that we have going on the past few years, as well as that long tradition of a 100-year history that we have behind us as well. And you know, as you think about tech, we've had so many successful students that we thought tonight we'd just kind of take a look at a few individual students as well as programs that we have at Tech High School that continue to excel. First off, just most notably this past fall in September, Tech High School was named the best high school in central Minnesota as voted on by the St.Cloud Times readership. We've had over 18 National Merit Scholars in the last 4 years, 10 of which have gone on to become finalists. And what that means is that our students are extremely smart. Up and down the line, our students excel in the classroom, and sometimes they excel to such a high level that once they get out of Tech High School, go on to graduate school, they become even Rhodes Scholars. So like Apollo, we can support a Rhodes Scholar that's a graduate of Tech High School, Laura Provenzino, back I'll say a few years ago. And in addition to that, our ACT scores continue to score above the state and national averages, as well as along the lines we've had a few perfect ACT scores along with a few perfect SAT scores. In fact, we have a tech graduate that even wrote a book on how to excel taking the ACT. So if you want to take a look at that, it's in our library at school, and we encourage all of our students, especially our juniors that are getting into that ACT mode, to take a look at that. So, and what that allows us to do is to have our graduates attend some of the top-rated schools in the country as well as across the world. And because that ACT score is a huge determinant of getting into some of those top-notch colleges. So we're extremely pleased with our results there. We've had a lot of different athletic highlights that I'll share here shortly, but sometimes we don't pay enough attention to our academic and our fine arts highlights that we have, and some of the teams and clubs and organizations that compete at the state and national level. Our math team, 22-time conference champions, routinely state tournament participants, routinely in the top 5 down at that state tournament. So just year in and year out, our kids tremendous in the math classroom. Just a few years ago, we had 3 members of Skills USA become national champions. And again, that's an area that's just taken off, and we got a great advisor there in Bill Garceau. As well as a few years ago, we had state champs in the Health Occupations Club. So again, another one of those organizations that just continues to grow and grow, and a much needed organization is related to healthcare. And we also have a speech team that continues to win conference champions, continues to be perform well at the state tournament. We've had several individual state champions across the last 2 decades, as well as finishing in the top 10 year after year from a team standpoint. And you got 2 speech contestants that will come up here in a little bit to talk more on maybe speech and or advanced placement. Moving along to the athletics side, I tell you what, we've had a wonderful fall, and I'll get to that in a little bit, but I just want to highlight our graduates. I know Mr. Hinch has pointed out, professional athletes from past years, Greg Thayer being one of them. Saw Jim Fonhorst at the football game the other night, former Super Bowl winner for the 49ers. But most recently, we can celebrate Elise Post, 2009 graduate, Olympic medalist in BMX. We never had BMX in high school. We still don't, but who knows? Because of Elise, maybe we'll have that someday. Super excited about our upcoming gymnastics team. For the first time last year in Tech history, Class AA state champions, and we return virtually every member of that team. So look out. We're going to be right back there again, continually finishing in the top 5, if not the top 2 over the last couple of decades. Great program, great coaches. They're going to be awesome this year again. As Luke mentioned earlier, our boys last year for soccer qualified for the state tournament. Placing 3rd, just so close to getting into that state championship game. And this year, undefeated regular season, missed that opportunity to go on to the state tournament. But again, we had three programs this fall undefeated during the regular season. One of them being the girls tennis team, state ranked number 1. Went down to the state tournament the last couple of days, ended up taking 4th, but completed very well. Just lost to Edina 4-3 yesterday. Edina has won the last 19 state championships. They got upset this year by Matamidi. But again, our girls program, along with our boys tennis programs, year in and year out, conference champions, state tournament teams, and just can't say enough again about that program and how it's excelled. And of course, it would be remiss without mentioning our football team. Perfect season thus far, 9-0. Play on Saturday afternoon down in St. Michael's. So we're hoping good things are going to come out there, and then can play for a chance to go to the state tournament. So again, what a great fall it's been for our athletic teams, and our academic teams are just getting started with their practices, and they'll get going here in the next couple of months. When we talk about activities, again, it's a well-rounded program. We have 31 girls and boys athletic opportunities at Tech High School. And if we could have more, we'd more than likely have more. We want more kids participating in those activities and taking advantage of our opportunities. In addition, as I mentioned, Tech has 34 academic and fine arts activities and clubs. And as you kind of look at this list, I like to boast that there's something for everybody at Tech High School. There's not a student that can't align with one of these particular clubs and organizations. And as we mentioned, several of them are competitive. And so a great opportunity for kids to feel that competition. And what I also like to say is if we don't have a club or an organization, and a student or possibly another staff member or a parent comes to us and said, hey, what about this? More than likely we can do it. And we have a process they can follow, and we love to have as many opportunities again for our kids and to get them involved in as many things as we possibly can. Turning our attention a little bit to some data, what I thought I would do is go back to last year a little bit and talk about one in particular piece that we really hit home with our school improvement plan, and that was in the area of reading. We weren't happy with where our reading scores were when we looked at the 10th grade exam. And so we set up a 3-year plan that we wanted to increase from 48.3% to 58.3% by the year 2018. And we wanted to take something that was manageable. We were going to chunk it out so that each year we were going to improve by pieces rather than trying to do it all at one time, which we know is not always successful. So that was our 3-year goal of 10% increase. So last year, as we started to form our school improvement plan, we wanted to go up by 4 percentage points. So from 48.3 to 52.3. So again, the overall 10% for the 3 years, up by 4% for that 1 year. So We can boast that we did make that. We were up by over 5 percentage points. We decreased the difference between where the state average is and where we are at right now. And so we will again forge ahead to make another improvement within our reading scores. It was, again, our building plan, and it was a building goal. So every teacher, every staff member was really focused on literacy. One of the things that we did as far as an MCA intervention goes was to identify students that were slightly below proficiency. So students that we call kind of on that bubble that just needed a little extra nudge, a little extra push. And what we decided to do was a little different. We had these individual wraparound meetings. So take that student that was slightly below proficiency and get all of their teachers together, whether it's their language arts teacher, science, math, their elective teacher, their Phi-Ed teacher, and we wanted to make sure that all of those teachers were hitting home hard that, hey, vocabulary is important, literacy is important. We're going to inundate this student with as much literacy intervention that we possibly can have. And what we found out is that nearly 2/3 of those students were proficient on that sophomore reading exam. And so again, taking kids that were historically scoring below proficiency, looking at STAR data, looking at their MCA data from 8th grade reading, looking at their grades in their classrooms, particularly language arts in their 9th and then part of their 10th grade year. So those are the kids that we identified. We got very particular, and we were able to get, like I said, almost 2/3 of those to be proficient, whereas before they weren't scoring proficient on any reading exam prior to that. So certainly excited about that. We will continue that this year, and we are going to push it into our math area as well. Turning a little bit then to our advanced placement. Last year in 2015-16, we offer 18 AP courses in grades 9 through 12, and we actually offer 23 advanced placement exams. And if you're familiar with advanced placement, particularly like physics, there's actually 4 exams that students can take. In economics, there's macro and micro, for example. So all told, last year, the final results, we had just shy of 300 students enrolled in AP courses, took 571 exams, and 70% of our students, so 70% of that 300, wound up with a score of 3 or better. And that means that they were able to attain college credit. So again, depending upon which college they chose, they often went into that university with already credits. Many times they're already a sophomore based upon some of the other courses that they took. So again, we know that our advanced placement program at Tech High School, with the teachers and the students and the programs that we can offer, we are truly second to none in the area. And I know there's data out there that shows that our scores from Tech High School outpace everybody else in the area over the last half a dozen or so years. So we're again extremely proud of that. This year, same 18 AP courses offered 329 students. We anticipate 630 exams coming up in the fall. A little bit of stats here, 56% are female and 20% students of color. That's something that we definitely want to work on, and we know we have to get more focused on some of our early learners, primarily in the elementary and the junior high level, so that they are coming to Tech High School prepared. It's not that we're going to give up on them when they get here if they're not quite prepared for advanced placement. We still want them to take as many of the upper level courses as possible. So that 20% we're not happy with, we want to keep increasing that, and you'll see how that compares to our overall percentage of students that are non-white. So with that, back a few weeks ago, our Mr. Truitt was put on the spot, and I asked him to make a 742 Proud video that kind of focused on advanced placement. So I thought I would show that to you here.
I would definitely say the biggest thing are the AP classes. I've taken 9, and I'm taking 5 more this year. And the biggest part about those is that they move you away from that sort of memorize and regurgitate information into more of the gathering and analysis of information. Like, not so much the what happened, but why and how something happened. Another thing is math team and speech team. That's been able to help me with problem-solving skills and public speaking, things that not everybody gets to do. Overall, the teachers, the diversity, and the variety of AP classes are the reasons why I am 742 proud.
Well, I think we have a new spokesperson for Tech High School. Well, with that, again, we are so extremely proud of our advanced placement program as well as all of our programs, but we thought we'd highlight that here tonight. So I'm going to call back up Luke Truitt along with Georgie Simon. Both of them are seniors in our advanced placement program. They've been involved in it for several years, so they're going to highlight some of their experiences within those courses. So I'll turn it over to Georgie.
Hi, I'm Georgina Simon, a senior at Tech High School, and I'd like to talk to you guys about the experience I've had with my AP classes. I've taken them from sophomore year and up, and I can tell you that within the classes we do a lot of engagement that you wouldn't typically see in a regular level class. We do a lot of discussion and analyzing of the curriculum that we're learning, and a specific example that I can bring up is last year in AP US History and AP Language Arts and Composition, we had a week to plan and debate on the story of Huckleberry Finn, and we talked about the language and the time period and how that all tied together, especially with the two courses we were taking, and it really tapped into our brains and helped us learn and understand the curriculum we were learning and why we were learning it and how it applies to everything. And it really did tie in towards the end of the year when we did take our AP test, and we could go back and remember, oh yeah, I remember that debate in which we talked about how these people were treated and how this led into that. And it's overall helpful, and it really increases your learning experiences.
So yeah, I'm the guy in the video. I've gotten a lot of jokes about that recently, but nevertheless, I'm proud of doing it. So I have a lot of the similar experiences as Georgie, and also that video kind of sums up AP classes for me. So if you have any questions, you can ask them. But right now, I'd probably just talk about how they're actually preparing me for college and what that's going to do for me in the next 10 years of my life. As we talked about earlier, our science courses could use some new improvements if this levy passes. I've had the pleasure of taking AP Biology, AP Chemistry, and now AP Physics. Which, as I want to be an engineer, those will all come very in handy. But having a biology lab where we can actually dissect animals and where we're not all cramped into one space, as we talked about earlier, where we can have a more collaborative learning space, I think that's kind of, I don't know if I need to tell you guys this because this is your job, but this is kind of where education's heading. And so with this new levy, if it is passed, that 70% passing score, which is already a crazy number because, only 50% nationwide are supposed to pass. That's the whole point of the 1 through 5 scale. But we could probably get that number up 75, 80%, maybe even higher. I don't know. So if you guys have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
Just one comment, because I was in the Mr. Mardig forced me to come to
the debate.
Debate, and the debate was about the use of the N-word in the book of Huckleberry Finn. But the important part about this, that debate's gone on for years. These students got into the issue of whether Mark Twain was a racist or an activist in terms of why he put the word in the book, which was an interesting discussion, which is beyond whether the word should be there or not. It has to do with who are these people? Who is Steinbeck? Who are these writers writing that write and use the word in there? Are they simply using the word of the time, or are they actually trying to be activists, as one side of the debate said. They wanted to raise people's awareness of that. The other side was they're simply racist, using the same kind of language. So the discussion went beyond what would be the normal level of that. I happen to, but
yeah, and that doesn't just happen in language arts and U.S. history. I mean, this year I'm able to take an independent study math course with Mr. Boats. I'm sure all of you know who that is. He's been around a long time.
Forever.
What?
Forever.
Yeah, forever. And instead of, since there's not a set curriculum like an AP class would, because we're studying for a test, this is more, we're kind of looking into a calculus book and really getting in depth on a few things that we think are interesting. And so those kind of conversations, while not about the N-word or anything like that, it's the similar context in that we're going deeper than what's just on the surface of the book, and our teachers actually give us something that we wouldn't get from just reading it or listening to a lecture.
Mr. Fonkorf.
Are we at the end question point, or are we in a kind of an interruption of the? Fine. Then I'll save to the end.
Okay. Good. You may
Very
continue.
good. Okay.
Thank you.
Don't leave, though. Okay, we're going to turn the focus a little bit, and I know you've seen a similar slide when Apollo was up here, but this is our 2015-16 behavior data, and similar to Apollo, our green zone, that zone that has only 0 or 1 office discipline referral, 87%. So we had nearly 1,250 kids last school year of the 1,432 officially as October 1st enrollment with 0 or 1 office discipline referral. So the vast majority of our students are doing exactly what they're expected to do. And to put this in perspective, the National PBIS Center, which is where we develop all this data, kind of sets the standard for high schools as per 100 students, if you have 1 office discipline referral per day, so 1 per 100 per day, you're doing pretty well. And so, and that means with 1,400 kids, we would have on average 14 office discipline referrals per day. The highest month last year for Tech High School was 8 on average per day. So 14 is the standard that you want to achieve. We had only 8 as our highest month, and usually we were in that 3, 4, or 5% or 5 office discipline referrals per day on average. So what that means is we're blowing this out of the water, and to get 87% in that Tier 1 zone, to have low percentages in the yellow and red zone, we can still improve, but at the same time, we're doing extremely well, and that means that our students are living up to the expectations that we have set forth. So extremely proud about those numbers. In fact, as we got into this year, our official October 1st enrollment for the 2016-17 school year is 1,502. That's about 70 students above our projections. So, you know, why that happened, one is certainly a larger 9th grade class than we had anticipated. But here's one thing to boast about and be proud about. Our 11th and 12th graders stayed. They remained. And if you've been around education for a while and you've paid attention to statistics, usually, you know, sophomores making the decision going into junior and then juniors into senior year, there's an attrition rate. That they look at where they want to be, and some choose different schools, different programs within the district. So we've lost students to that. They came back this year, okay, and they wanted to come back. And it's certainly about the programs that we offer, our staff, the rest of our students. But again, we're extremely proud of the fact that we did not lose percentage-wise the same number of students in the junior and senior classes that we would normally do. So we're going to have a full house at graduation come the end of May, early June. So we're excited about that. A couple of other percentages of that 1,502 students, 55% are white, 35% are in the black category, And then the other 10%, about, you can break it up into almost a third Asian Pacific Islander, Hispanic students, and then the category of multiracial. And of the black student population, we know that 28% are part of the EL Somali population of those 1,502 students. So a little bit of a breakdown with that. I also, to kind of close this out, is to kind of talk a little bit about how we changed our focus or changed our target. We've always talked about teaching and learning. There's a teaching and learning department in our district. We wanted to flip the focus to students and staff learning. So that's why we highlight this as learning and teaching. So when we talk about instruction, we start with the students in mind first and work to the teachers. When we've been going through some in-services and workshops this year, our focus has been on truly having the teachers learn more about the students. And that means looking at data, looking at their own instructional techniques that they've used, the strategies that are out there, and figuring out what's going to be best for our individual students. So that key piece leads us then to, as Apollo pointed out, we also created a target page as part of our leadership team program. And this is just one of the examples that we've been really hitting home with our teachers, is that to provide timely, specific, and consistent feedback that's going to instill a growth mindset, meaning no matter where you are on the continuum, you're always shooting for improvement. You're always looking for growth. And with that, we developed what we call a set of homework guidelines. Our intention was to gear this towards our ninth graders coming into Tech High School, and what that really does is puts focus on what the students will do, what the teachers will do, and then also the added piece about what families will do. And so I had a ninth grade parent meeting earlier this year where we talked about having a space at home that's a study space for kids. That's an atmosphere that's not chaotic, unless a student really can still study better in those circumstances. I know I couldn't do it. I had to be dead silent. But at the same time, having parents aware of that's the kind of spaces that we need, and that they should be checking up on their students regularly through Skyward. Teachers have expectations, again, as far as providing that feedback and making sure that they're putting things into Skyward on a timely basis. And then also with primarily with the students, that you are going to have homework. You're in ninth grade. You're getting credit now for those classes. You're making progress towards graduation. So we wanted a set of guidelines that really pinpoints out the expectations for each one of those sets of individuals, from students to teachers to families. Paulo had some of the same kind of slide. These are our Tier 2 supports for our students, students that need that little extra help to do well. So very similar to what Apollo had up, we've started our Dreamline program working so well. I saw kids in there at 5:15 yesterday working with those tutors, so they're staying even later than what they're supposed to. We have access and opportunity back again. We're doing the social emotional lessons on a regular monthly basis. I got to give a shout out to our multi-tiered systems of support team, where they're looking weekly at individual student data and identifying students that they can then refer to all of these different supports. And so we're also going to be embedding tiered study halls coming up next trimester. We're identifying teachers right now that are going to be working in small groups rather than having larger type study halls, so that, again, individual teachers can really act as little mini case managers for our kids and get them over the hump. I know that the other folks mentioned AVID and C4 and our focus and reflection room, all things that are really working well with our kids right now. And I left one blank there on purpose because we will continue to look for other opportunities for our kids in the way to support that. So we'll be adding that as time goes on as well. So those are groups of students, but then we also are extremely proud of what we can provide for our individual students that have individual needs. So we call that our Tier 3. We have a great child study team that continually looks at student data and then, again, refers students to particular special ed programs or programs where it's specialized instruction. We have co-located therapy from a chemical health standpoint as well as from a mental health standpoint, and we know that there's so many needs out there right now that we can never have enough help from that standpoint. We're embedding the reflection room, students that have some anxiety in the classroom. So it's all going on, co-taught classes. It's amazing what happens when there's another adult in the classroom working with kids, because then the instructor can teach and the other teacher can be around to also teach, but also to do that one-on-one mini little pullouts within the classroom on a regular basis. So we're excited about those opportunities as well. And with that then, we are tech proud, so let's give you a little bit of a video highlight of all of our programs at Tech as well. Oops, that went too fast. Let me try that again.
I like the diverse environment, and some of the classes can be challenging, and I feel like that gives us a great background for whenever we go out into the community as college students, as workers.
We have a great tradition of music here at Tech in our bands, choirs, and orchestras. We have students that have really excelled. Many of them go on to our all-conference events, and we have students that go on into music careers. And we have several teachers, we have professional musicians, and of course the lifelong participants in music. They're in community bands in their churches and so on.
Band has helped me to expand my knowledge of music and to express my love for music.
The choir program at Tech High School allows students to be creative in so many different ways, both during the school day as well as outside of the school day. There are so many opportunities for them to express themselves and gives them opportunities to really be ambassadors for Tech High School, both here at Tech High School and in the community.
One of the great opportunities students have in physics is they do receive college credit at St.Cloud State University for the work that they do in my class. The work that we do is equivalent to at least a semester's worth of work at St. Cloud State, and they receive a 200 level credit, which is generally a sophomore course over at St. Cloud State because of the advanced work that they do within our classroom.
We go from Programming 1, which is QBasic, all the way to AP Computer Science, which is Java. The course itself is going to be wonderful for the industry that's out there. There is going to be so many job opportunities. There already is. They're hiring overseas because the United States doesn't have enough people that are qualified for these opportunities. And so it's a growing field. Technology isn't going anywhere.
This is a great class for students who are interested in the engineering field, specifically mechanical engineering. Students are able to design parts on the computers, take those designs that they create, 3D models on the computer, and we can bring them over here to this machine and build those parts. Create examples of them, put them together, and create real prototypes.
We have the students design robots to navigate through a Mars landscape using GoPro cameras, like this one here, and using iPads to be able to communicate with their robot on Mars in a simulation lab, to do mapping missions, to do a meteorite hunt, to replace a solar panel, just like NASA would do in real life NASA missions. Along with these simulation missions, we also have different challenges and obstacle courses.
I enjoy my classes at Tech because they teach me how to broaden my horizons and what to do later in life. And I'm taking robotics because of how it helps humans in life.
I think, part of the overall success of tech activities programs, year to year, obviously, it changes with any high school with the athletes that you have and things, but I think our coaching staff's commitment to encouraging kids to play multiple sports, being unified together and working together, both in summer programs to develop athletes and teach, broader ideals that relate to the classroom, teamwork, being above something other than just yourself, certainly lends to the positive climate in the activities program.
Tech proud.
Tech proud.
Tiger Pride.
All right. I think Willie almost got hit by that catch, by the way, so you were there. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to grab the kids again here, so come on up and we'll answer any questions that you might have.
Mr. Von Korf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of things I want to say. I had 3 sons that went through tech. 2 of them collected AP courses like you guys are naturally. And each of them got a year's worth of college credit at a very challenging school, and they said that a selective college, and they said that, wow, tech prepared them for the most rigorous possible, and I'm always grateful for what was done for my 2 sons who fall into that category. And I had a 3rd son who kind of looked at his older brothers who everybody thought were really proficient, and he was planning on being a concert pianist, and he spent all his time practicing, and he thought he wasn't really as smart as his other 2 brothers and not academically inclined. And at some point, a couple teachers at Tech reached out to him and gave him a push into a couple AP courses. And ultimately, as he decided that he didn't want to be a concert pianist, he wound up at the University of Wisconsin. And because of what you did for him at Tech, he felt free and confident enough to go into biology, where he graduated with honors. But if you'd asked him before, the science teachers at Tech reached out to him and saw something in him to give him additional options. And so I'm just as grateful for the efforts that Tech made to reach out to my 3rd son to see potential that he hadn't seen in himself. I want to say one other thing. As my colleagues know, I'm kind of a data rat, and you've been providing average of all of your students in proficiency in reading, and that's one window on the truth. But the state also monitors data by looking at different demographic groups, because groups come to us with more or less challenges. And so one of the other windows that I look at to try and understand what's going on in schools is how do those different groups, which have different average scores within those groups, do at Tech. And the fact, because if you change the number of those students in a particular high school, then you have more or less challenge. And in each of the areas that I track about technical high school, the reading proficiency rate is from 7 to 14 percentage points higher than the state average. Do you see what I mean? So now that's not to say that therefore we shouldn't really do well with each of those groups. The other thing that I look at is the rate of growth in those groups. So, okay, you're higher with all of these groups than the state average. And in the last 3 years, for each of those groups that the state likes to track, Tech's growth in reading proficiency has been double or more than the state average. Do you see what I mean? So I think it's important that we hear, and we always do annually from the newspaper, what the average rates are. But Tech is showing amazing ability to take kids and do well with them and to grow faster than the state average. And so that's, I think, also worth celebrating. That wasn't a question, but that's my comment. Thank you for being, for my kids, a fabulous school, and thank you for continuing to make super progress with all kids.
Thank you. Comments from this side? I have a comment. I attended the 9th grade parent meeting with my wife Sally, who keeps talking about how well you did on that presentation, Mr. Eisenreich, and the informational content for parents to know what their responsibility was in terms of homework, that there would be homework, and that and also have the student responsible. The team of people that were there were fabulous also, that bounced around things like, what are we going to do about that cell phone and the earphones and all that thing. So it was a very energetic and engaging presentation for 9th grade parents that turned us into the reality that my grandson, when he's at our house, is going to be sitting for an hour and a half doing homework or studying. And you don't, just because you don't have any homework, what their point was, it doesn't make a difference whether you have an hour and a half worth of homework. If you get done in an hour, then you got another half hour to study for tomorrow and get ahead of things. So it was impressive. So thank you for that.
And so I'm going to echo that as a parent of a 9th grader. And so my 9th grader attends Tech. And what I would like to say is that's one of those transition moments when you are looking at, as a parent, you're looking at your child going from junior high to high school. And all of us that are parents, there is that worry that many of us have. And so I think I had that worry, but I think my wife had more of a worry. And so to watch the transition and to see our son in that transition, my hat's off to Principal Eisenreich, the staff at Tech, for making it so that Willie Jett, the husband, and Willie Jett, the father, could relax when his son is entering high school. So thank you, sir.
Mr. Dahlgren.
Okay, I know I'm going to sound like a babbling idiot here, but I didn't speak after the Apollo presentation, and so this isn't necessarily directed at the presentation that we just saw, but I was so excited tonight to see the science presentation, or the science portion of that. Science to me is just such an exciting piece of education, and I think for myself, one of the areas where I was able to kind of excel. I always loved science because everything works the way that it's supposed to, and it can only work one way, and once you figure it out, you got it. And there's so many things. I took a ton of courses in science through high school and then on to the university, where I went pre-med for 3 years and was going to be a dentist, but then I realized that nobody's mouth was big enough for me to fit my hands in it. So I switched and started over and went into business, but I went agricultural business because I could use more science credits, and then I was able to take agronomy and sleep with the cows as they were calving and all kinds of different interesting science classes in that curriculum also. But there's so many life experiences and so many I shouldn't even say life experiences, but so many things that you look at in life and say, why is this? Or how does this work? Or why is this? And science and math are what answer those. Like I said, there's only one answer. Once you got it, and it all interacts together, science, math, and physics. And it's such an exciting category, and I'm so excited to see that we have a really, really strong math or a science program in both schools, I'm certain, for kids to get excited about science. It's just, that was very exciting to me.
Debbie?
wanted to thank Principal Eisenreich and Luke and Georgie for coming tonight on behalf of my husband, because after Adam's presentation I was thinking like maybe we have to put our house up on the market and move to the north side, but now I know we're going to be okay no matter which side of town we live on. But I also would, Luke had an opportunity earlier to share some of his plans with us, his future plans, and I was going to ask Georgie if she would be willing to share her plans with us as well.
Yeah, most definitely. I plan to go to four-year college. I'm not sure yet. I've applied to them all, and I'm just waiting for all the acceptance letters and to make my decision later. But I want to go further, deeper into psychology. I've always wanted to help people and work in a hospital, and I thought maybe I could be a pediatrician or a doctor, but I didn't want to be that. I discovered it around sophomore year. And so I thought psychology is an interesting topic. I like the brain and how behavior works, and I love helping people out. So I want to go to college, go to a graduate after that, and dig deeper into clinical psychology and go to a hospital and be that doctor that works with patients one-on-one mentally to make sure they're stable and such. So,
Just have one quick follow-up to that. This is something that I'd shared with Mr. Stockinger because there were a number of students in his program that had, or at Apollo, that had expressed interest in medical careers, and I just want to make sure that students are aware of this opportunity, that the hospital actually offers a summer program, a month-long summer program for college students that are interested in medicine, where you can shadow a different physician, several different physicians over the course of that month. So I hear you, Georgie, saying that that's maybe not the track you want to go, but I want to make sure that staff at both schools are aware of that, because I think that would be an important connection.
And just to comment about the science, and a high-paid consultant that I worked with, I mean, he knew me, I didn't work with him, but he did consulting for NASA about issues they were having. And his comment was always, this is not rocket science, because rocket science is easy. It always works. It's mathematic. It's the human science that's difficult. So, because it doesn't work like it's supposed to ever. So, and that's what teaching is, a human science. So, Mr. Inches.
Mr. Moncorf has left, so I'm all alone down here. But Mr. Chair and Charlie and students, thanks for a great presentation. Actually, both of the presentations were excellent. And as a school board member and a graduate of this district, it makes me proud to see what's going on in our schools today. As a tech grad myself, and as having had also two sons who graduated from tech, to see the phenomenal educational opportunities that kids are getting today makes me very proud of this district and Tech High School. And Charlie, the job that you and the staff at Tech continue to do. Seeing the diversity, both in both presentations, but also in the students making the presentations tonight, also makes me proud, and seeing it in our athletic events as well, and how kids of different backgrounds are able to not just get along, but to achieve excellence educationally and in their activities, makes me very proud to be a board member in this district and to be from District 742. Watching the video of Tech and knowing those rooms, because I taught there for many years and was an administrator, and seeing what teachers like Carrie Kopp and Matt Kyle and Mick Boats and Greg Mardig and many of those teachers are doing in really limited facilities makes me very excited about what we can do as a district if we are able to pass the levy referendum this coming, well, a week from Tuesday, and provide the facilities that will allow our talented staff and tremendous kids to really have all of the great benefits of a 21st century education. So I would say great job, and everything that I heard this evening just makes me very proud to be part of this district. So thank you.
Mr. Mose.
Dr. Green, so one of the disadvantages I've always felt that I've had is I was never a parent. I never had a family, so I could never reflect on being a parent and having children. And it's really heartening to listen to those stories from my colleagues and people I work with that have personal experiences with their children in this district and many other persons having experiences with children in other districts. It just reminds us exactly why that mission is read and why we look at that and our core values all the time as we make decisions. I like what Dr. Green said at the end of his remarks, and I like everything Dr. Green says all the time, but in particular, I just remembered this part about this isn't rocket science. I'm a tech graduate, and my brothers are tech graduates, and my middle brother, a tech graduate, went on and became a rocket scientist. He's a retired rocket scientist. He has degrees in aerospace engineering, and he worked for Lockheed and NASA. And when he retired and reinvented himself as a substitute teacher, imagine, rocket science, NASA, Lockheed, traveling all over the world, and then retires and in St. Cloud decides he wants to do what his heart always told him to do, and that was to teach. So he's a substitute teacher. He told me one time in a conversation with persons, when somebody said that to him, for crying out loud, in terms of education, this isn't rocket science. And he stood up and he said, ladies and gentlemen, of course this isn't rocket science. As Les said, it's education. It's far more difficult than launching rockets. Launching kids is difficult. Launching rockets is easy. I've done it. And when they go off course, you blow them up. And if you don't like them when they're delivered to you, the parts that are made by the lowest bidder, you send them back and say, give me something better. Launching kids into the orbit of their life, our principals and our directors and our superintendent and my colleagues on the board and all people of goodwill in the community, launching kids into the orbit of their life is the most important thing and the most difficult thing that we can do. And now we get lifted up tonight by these stories and these testaments. And it reminds me that it takes an entire team to do this. And there are two other gentlemen in this room that I want to acknowledge, and they are part of our team, and they are aspiring someday to be in an operational leadership position someplace, and that is Abdirazak Abdi. Mr. Abdi, I've seen you work. I've watched you work with parents and students casually. That's not my assignment, but I've just seen you working with people and educators. And Jesus Sandoval, I've been in your company here quite a bit in the last few weeks because of the conferences over at South Junior High School, and I've watched you interact with parents and with students and with colleagues. And Matt, we'll say it again with you in this room, you're representing all teachers tonight in this school district, all of your colleagues. When we put the spotlight on some, we illuminate everybody. And so we say to all of you educators and to all of you students, you're left here tonight and the others are gone, but you're representing every student in this school district tonight. And so we remind ourselves, we remind you that you too have a stake in all of what's going on in this district. We expect you as a student stakeholder to be part of your own success. But we acknowledge that families and schools and the community at large also are important in your success. And just in the spirit of goodwill, I could be criticized for giving speeches and this and that and maybe not asking the question or this or that. We've asked lots of good questions. We ask them in the proper way in the proper time. But sometimes it just feels good to say thank you. This is a pretty good job. This is good duty, isn't it, Dr. Green?
Yes.
Good duty to serve on the Board of Education.
Yes.
Even if you have to listen to me give a speech once in a while, or every time. Hit that down so I shut up. That pleases my colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? Thank you both very much. It was very exciting. Anything you'd like to say?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.